Maybe especially good if you follow law of attraction stuff like, am I attracting, if I have a bad thought, am I going to attract a bad relationship? So the answer is no. Like, are negative thoughts keeping good relationships away? The answer is no and maybe yes, depending. Hear me say this. The thoughts aren't the problem. The thoughts aren't the problem. The mind is going to talk to you. Hey, any Harry Potter fans? Raise your hand. Any Harry Potter fans? Rita Skeeter? The mind is your little personal Rita Skeeter, following behind you, little gazette writer, telling you everything about everybody and everything. Oh, that tree is that person's that, your clothes are that, and this is this. Categorizing everything and letting you know along the way, like everything she's writing down. That is the mind. Okay, it's just going to talk to you. It doesn't always, the healing work means that it doesn't always have to be so loud. Like it can quieten and you can create enough distance, not unhealthy distance, but healthy distance so it doesn't run your life. Okay, so the thoughts themselves are not the problem. It may be your relationship with the thoughts. Okay, I'm always thinking in terms of relationship. We have relationship with everything. Relationship is actually the central core of who we are. We have relationship not just with people, with the planet, with our thoughts, with our internal parts. Are you all familiar with internal family systems or parts work? Yeah, it's a fantastic modality. I use it a lot in my work, and in our business we use it a ton. I find it's one of the most helpful modalities in understanding the full self better. You have a self, and this is I often refer to it as the wise parent. It's yourself that's most highly connected with the divine. You know, it's the grounded, it's the you, the real you. Okay, and the real you is compassionate, and there's so much wisdom there and relaxed. And then we have all these other protective parts. Okay, so to give a more full explanation, I'm going to take us back a little bit. So hang with me for a sec. When we are growing up in our family of origin, there's a relationship system that we come up in, right? And if that's chaotic, if that's abusive, if it's really negligent, whatever that is, your psyche, okay, unconsciously, you're actually in a state of, hypnosis from age 0 to 7. You're just a little absorber of your environment. Okay, you're not fully awake at all. You're just very unconscious. So unconsciously, you are creating blueprints the whole way of, this is how relationships work. This is how the world works. This is who I am. This is who I am in the world. Okay, got it locked down. This is a story forever. And why your psyche does this is to help protect you. Because that's all you know. Because it says, okay, this is my childhood home. All right, this must be what the entire world is. Because the mind, for protection, it also categorizes everything. And when you've had increased trauma, the categorization gets stronger and tighter and more rigid. So if you grew up in chaos for protection, it's like, okay, my dad is a man, he hurt me, all men hurt me, that's a story. That's a story from now on. It does so for protection, and that's good for a while until it gets in the way. Everything is helpful for a while until it starts getting in the way, until we no longer need it. Okay, it becomes that thing that we now get to say thank you and just start to let go of. Making sense so far? You're so welcome. Hi, UK. Keep letting me know where you're joining in from. I'd love to know. Let me know if you have questions. So that becomes your, in the Queen's Quarters, we talk a lot about blueprint. We're about to actually do a really fun exercise with our blueprints and how to change it, essentially. So this becomes your relationship blueprint. And that becomes, so a blueprint, right? So that becomes your internal software for how I navigate all relationships in the future. So without healing, without addressing it, what I do tend to do is attract the same things over, and I keep not only attracting, but I keep replaying the same scenarios over and over. It runs on a loop. You know, really, we aren't going to go this deep, but really, really deep down, I believe it's your psyche's, like your inner child's way of trying to initiate the self the way she couldn't in childhood. Like she's trying to get something done. But again, we're not going to go that deep today. But that's why we keep reenacting these things. Thoughts are a part of it. Here's how I like to think of thoughts. We have all these protective parts, right? Like your inner critic. They're all extensions of the survivor self, the perfectionist, the this, the that. You can think of the mind as like, that's how these parts are being translated to you. The mind is talking to you to try to keep you in that same blueprint. Okay, take a breath while I say that one more time. The mind is talking to you to try to keep you in that same blueprint. Why? It's not because it hates you. It's not because any of your parts are against you. Actually, your parts love you so much. They're stored in the part of the brain that can't see your current reality. Literally, we teach this in the Triune Brain curriculum. This part of the brain can't see 2022. It only sees childhood. So if you go to set a boundary, if you go to start doing things differently with your family, with your partner, with your friends, with your coworkers, as soon as you start to do things a little differently, your mind is going to react. These parts, you know, I think in terms of parts, like these parts are really going to react because they are scared for you. They are saying, no, 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 this is not how we stay safe in relationships. Remember how you got hurt when you spoke up that one time when you were 4? I've had clients who literally had to learn to shut off their emotions because they learned that emotions were dangerous, because they actually were in her childhood home. They were very dangerous because you get hit, or worse, if you have emotion. So for protection, and that worked for a while. That kept her alive, and that's the most important thing. So we have a lot of gratitude and thanks for these parts, and they're their own forms of intelligence and wisdom. We're not ever going to work against these parts. We are working with them. Okay, we take our clients in the membership and our personal clients, we take them through, and you don't have to do this with us, you can do this anywhere, but you know, it's taking you and your parts through a process of healing your own internal family. With your survivor part, your inner critic, your, you know, inner perfectionist, people pleaser, whatever it is, you'll heal these parts. And part of that is tremendous gratitude. Thank you for helping me survive what I had to survive. And so for telling me this, reminding me of the stories like, oh, that's that, watch out for that, you're that, to try to keep me safe. But I understand that you can't see that this is current, this is 2022 now. I'm not in that environment anymore. It is now safe for me to say no, and for to speak up, and to show my emotion, and to feel my emotion, to get it, it's safe for it to be in my body now. And that's a whole deep process in and of itself. Take a big breath. Feel free to let us know how this is resonating with you, so we can witness you, and so I can witness you. Is this making sense? So that's the history, that's the why. So let's go back to the thoughts and the mind. Remember, the mind is just, it's your Rita Skeeter reminding you, like, remember, that's that, and that's that. Don't step out of here. So why thoughts aren't the problem? Because the mind's just going to talk to you. You are a sovereign being. Even though your thought might be saying, don't go over there, you can walk over there anyway. The mind may get louder for a time, and when you're healing, it will. It sucks. It will get much louder for a time. Your parts will rebel. That's why I love doing this in community so much, because we get through those, when we try to go it alone, it's so much easier to self-sabotage, to not really go full out. Our nervous systems are wired for community. They are wired to co-regulate with each other. Okay, you are actually designed to do this. But either way, I mean, it's easy for me to get tangential. So what we want to do with the mind, with the thoughts, is create healthy separation. Okay, back to the self. You are the self. Your thoughts are your thoughts. Two separate things. Create healthy separation. Create boundaries between you and your thoughts. Over time, we want your thoughts to be just incredibly neutral to you. I mean, you're human, not always. You'll get your feathers ruffled from time to time, but by creating healthy separation, yeah, you can have thoughts. Doesn't have to affect your movements. My practice is high thoughts, I see you. I always talk to my parts instead of my thoughts. Like, to me, it's kind of the same thing. High part, okay, I see you, I hear you. Okay, it's okay, I got this though. I hear that you're trying to protect me, and thank you for doing so. Thank you for loving me that much. I got this though. Now, your inner parts, your thoughts are never going to want you to do anything new. They're just not. So don't even try. That's why community and togetherness and your sovereign self, that's what changes things. The wise you that knows that, okay, but I don't need to do things that I did in family of origin, because then I'll just keep recreating those patterns. I don't want to do that anymore. Over time, doing this work, my personal and professional experience, because I've done this and I keep doing it every day, is that your parts will soften because you're building trust within your internal parts. They're learning to trust you. They're like, okay, you do got this. All right, cool. That's why it's called internal family system. It's your internal family. And a lot of times in the healing work, we have to do a lot of relationship repair just within, before we even worry about outer relationships. Like, let's get your internal family shit right. Right? Let's help them trust you that, okay, this person does show up for me. Myself, I do show up for myself. I am consistent with myself. I can trust myself. Okay, cool. And over time, what happens? Well, they get softer, they get quieter. My inner critic is not nearly as loud now as it was 10 years ago. Not nearly. When I start to do new things, like, yes, it pops back up. Not nearly as loud, not nearly as overbearing. Because I've created separation. Like, it is not me, I'm not it. It is just a voice talking to me, trying to give me information. Okay? So when these thoughts can trip you up is when you don't create separation. Okay, that's why I said yes, maybe. Because if you aren't familiar with your self, what we do is we over-identify with these thoughts, and they just swarm us. We just think that's what I am. Like, when I started my own work, I didn't know about separation. I didn't know there was a difference. I just was and I would just like 24/7, just like, I would journal it. Like, I used to do journaling practices that weren't exactly helpful for me. I've evolved into knowing like what type of journaling is helpful for me, but I used to just write down all my negative thoughts. And don't call negative bad, you know, it's just, we could talk about that another time. But just not helpful. I was just victim all over the place, right? Like, nobody likes me, I just need to be alone, like this, like I was just swarming in it. So because I didn't have any separation, yes, I was recreating those scenarios over and over and over that kept me victimized, that kept me lonely. That was my own software. Once I started to see that these were just parts, that these were just thoughts, and I could actually take the action I needed to take to create better stuff for myself. And like, yes, my mind and my thoughts rebelled like hell, and it was really hard. Like, okay, I can actually feel better. I can actually create better relationship inside and out. Take a big breath, let that settle. And we have I have a question coming in. Good, yes, and I'm also doing this sort of work with my clients. Great, I'm also working on my own self Consistently develop the right relationships. Love this. Good. Yes. Thank you for letting us know that. Amazing. This work is out more and more. Like more and more healers are doing this exact type of work with the internal family systems. It's so, so good. How does that feel? Take a big breath. Let's take a breath together. Just letting that settle right on in. And this will, of course, be on the replay on my feed, so you can watch it again later if you want. If there are things that are helpful here, remember the masterclass that we have coming up. It's this coming Sunday at 12 p.m. Central Time. So wherever you are, it's 12 Central Time. The recording will be available. It's 6 steps to codependency healing. It's one of my absolute favorite masterclasses that I teach, because that's been my whole path. And codependency, it's an overwhelming term, and it's actually evolved from where it started. You know, it's not in the DSM. It's not easily definable. But when we understand more of what it is and what it's about, it takes the shame out of it. Because that's the first thing we need to do. Shame is really just a distraction. And it just shows you kind of what it is. It takes the overwhelmingness out. So that's the masterclass. Go sign up for it if you haven't, if that calls to you. If you can be there live, I will be able to answer any questions that you have. And you all, if you're ready to do this on a much deeper level, and like really, really, really dig into this work, go check out the Queen's Quarters. It's in the link in my bio. It's a beautiful membership space, and I wanted to be a membership for a reason, because this is lifestyle change. It's not tips and tricks. Tips and tricks are part of it, and of course we have that. In fact, I'm really big on 1, 2, 3 steps, right? I'm a 10-year psychotherapist, and I learned all kinds of different ways to do the work. And what I find in therapy, I don't know if any of you have had similar experiences, but sometimes the experience, not all the time, but sometimes the experience in therapy can be like, okay, yeah, I've created a lot of insight about myself, like I know my patterns, but now what? But what do I do now? I'm not seeing as much shift as I want. To have all the awareness, but but the same shit is happening, which is almost worse. Anybody have this experience? Happy Valentine's Day, Karina. Happy V-Day. So if any of you have had this experience, the Queen's Quarters is the what we do part. It's the here's what we do part. It's best for people who have done work on themselves, actually. You know, if you're a new beginner to this, I would actually invite you to do some personal work first, like with a therapist or with a coach, you know, with whoever. I usually toply recommend healers who know what somatic work is, you know, parts work, nervous system informed, trauma informed, all that. But the Queen's Quarters is where we dig in deeper and we stay in the work. Exactly for what we talked about, the blueprint. Like the blueprint, it'll let you go so far, but when you really start to change things in your life and in your relationships, the rebellion gets really loud and really hard. Some of our queens are going through it right now, and they're kind of like holding each other's hands. Like, oh, so we can get through this. There's 2 in particular I'm thinking out. They're like, oh, okay, you good? I'm good. Okay, we're doing it. And like, that's so beautiful to see. Like, this is the membership that I would have loved to have had when I was going through it. When I was really going just through the absolute shit part, because it is. You're redoing a whole internal house. Like, you're redoing a whole internal system. If you want different relationships than you've had, that requires an overhaul. Now, the good news is your body is designed to heal. You've got that on your side always. Your body wants to heal. It just, in the Queen's Quarters, we work with the protective parts. We work with the nervous system. We don't work against anything. We work with the whole body. Like in my years, in my psychotherapy experience, that's what I learned works best. And I help my clients my clients got really, really great results. And it's my story. I have my story on the webpage in the Queen's Quarters, but you guys, for people who are new to me, I was, having panic attacks so bad I took 2 months off work. I was suicidal for a while, incredibly lonely, very depressed, very resentful. Just, there was a time when no relationships were working for me. Dating, friends, co-workers, nothing. Now it's just like, and I mentioned this on the webpage, the people pleaser part of me has not wanted to say how good my relationship life is now, because that part of me is afraid to hurt other people's egos. Anybody relate to that? Not wanting to say how good things are going for you because you don't want to hurt other people. Thankfully, I did some healing around that, because if I can create this from what I had, then it's not about just me. Anybody can. It's not accessible to just me. Next month, next 2 months, let's see, in April, Garrett and I will be celebrating 10 years of just, and it's not just a marriage, it is an insanely good one. Like, I could talk about that for a while, but it is crazy good. Crazy good. It's a myth that things get worse over time. Like, the sex gets worse, the connection kind of drops off. No, that is also a program that we can undo. We don't have to agree with that anymore. And the sisterhood relationships, that's always been actually the bigger heartache for me, you all. Sisterhood. I'm still working on that, but the sisters I have now, it's insanely incredible. And it's because I worked on my internal software, and in the Queen's Quarters, that's exactly what I show you how to do. 1, 2, 3 step. Taking concepts that are overwhelming, making it less overwhelming. Okay, so please go check it out if that calls to you. Again, remember that we do offer partial scholarships to our sisters who have faced marginalization and oppression, social inequality, financial abuse. We have 7 available. I think 1 may be taken. I'll have to check. But we do offer that as well, because this is a really high quality container. You get a lot of me. You get a lot of me answering your personal questions. It's personal. There's personal coaching within it, within the groups, within our private members area. It's very personalized. It's way more than I can do with you here. But we do want to make our high quality platforms accessible, because we understand that not everybody's starting at the same baseline, right? Oh, you're so welcome. I think that's so important, right? This work just didn't come from nowhere. It came from, because this is exactly what I went through, you all. Like, exactly. On both sides of the couch. Okay. I'll leave it there. You all, thank you for joining me on this Valentine's Day. That's so kind of special that it landed on a Monday, so we could do Roaring Mondays together. And come back anytime. Come back every Monday. We do this every Monday unless I tell you otherwise. So keep up with my stories. If we ever don't do it, I'll let you know. And this replay will be posted. Go check out the masterclass and the Queen's Quarters, both in the link of my bio. I would love to support you if this is for you. Okay? I love you. Thanks for joining me. Have a good rest of the Valentine's Day. Bye for now.